Australia's verdict. Australia has spoken. An emphatic win for Labor. Anthony Albanese has led the ALP to victory, securing his government's second majority term, becoming only the third Labor leader in Australian history to win consecutive elections and the first Prime Minister to be re-elected since John Howard way back in 2004. We'll be breaking down these results with the Nationals leader, David Littleproud, and Trade Minister Don Farrell shortly. But first, let's get straight to our expert panel. Sky's chief news anchor, Kieran Gilbert.
Not former.
Sky News host, Laura Jays. Yeah, well, I had, John Fitzgibbon in there, but we're not seeing him. He's left. So, anyway, former Labor Senator Stephen Conroy and former Victorian Liberal Party President Michael Kroger. My favourite panel, these two guys, I always call them. Especially this morning, because Michael Kroger, at the start of the year, you told me there'd be no budget and the Liberals were going to smash it and win government. And I just want to see Stephen Conroy suppress the smile while I ask you about this. What on earth happened? The leader lost his seat, Michael Kroger.
Yeah, so 6 weeks ago we were on 72 seats and we were favourite to win the election. So, look, here's the bottom line. The Liberal Party has three brand equities, right? And they have for 80 years. They are economic management, industrial relations reform and national defence and security. The first is the most important. If you give away the economic management debate, what are you left with? Because we haven't spoken about IR since 2007 and defence was not the biggest issue in this election in the middle of a cost of living crisis. If you give away economic management as your number one issue, then you're not left with much. A petrol giveaway here, $1,200 there, a nuclear policy which is unmoored to the brand equity, great policy, but unmoored to the brand equity of the party. So let's be frank about this, mate. We've got to stop living in this economic la-la land in this country and around the world, that we can continue with these massive budget deficits, plunging the nation into more debt and deficit, and there's going to be an institutional crisis in all these Western countries in a few years' time. Sooner or later, a Liberal leader has to say this has to stop. You actually need budget surpluses. Governments can't continue to borrow. Now, what happens when that happens? Labor immediately says, oh, there's a shocking scare campaign, secret cuts coming. OK, if you can't win that debate, then you don't deserve to win, is the bottom line. But for as long as we don't talk about, the management of the economy, reform of the overburden that we have in regulation in this country, you're not going to win an election. That's the principal argument. And so if your main argument for voting Liberal is you're getting a bit of cheap petrol, if that's all we've come up with in 80 years, now that's not a criticism of Dutz or anyone. The bottom line is that's our number one brand equity.
Well, it is.
And if you can't win on that, and you give that away, you're going to lose.
It's a massive criticism of Peter Dutton. He's obviously completely stuffed it, hasn't he?
No, I mean, is it personal criticism of him? No, it's a criticism of the whole team. But look, Andrew. But let's be frank about something else. I mean, great performance. Labor outperformed us, and no question. Congratulations to Labor and Albanese. No doubt, Labor winning two elections in a row is a great historic achievement for any Labor leader. Let's be honest about that. But let's also be honest, mate, that this was a bit like 16. I mean, we're adults on this show. Let's not get too carried away. This campaign turned around on a dishonest campaign that Medicare was going to be slashed and burned and abolished, sold, whatever, under Peter Dutton. That underpinned Labor's turnaround in the polls, nothing else, right? Nothing else turned around. That's what turned around these polls.
Not work from home, not leaning into Trump, not saying everyone who worked from home is a bludger, none of that, Michael Kroger?
There's no doubt that the second tier of issues was Trump. There's no doubt about that at all. There's no doubt that work from home, didn't help us. There's no doubt that not backing tax cuts didn't help us. Of course, the Liberal Party's always going to be the party of lower taxes. You have to say, if there's a tax cut on offer, you have to support it. Of course, you have to do that.
Far. We could keep going, but Michael Kroger before.
But Andrew, hang on. Don't lose the major point, right? Do not lose. Like we've got a million experts around this table and in the Liberal Party. That's what we're good at. Post-election reviews. We're great at that. Let's not lose sight of the central reason for the defeat, which was that if you give away economic management, you give away your core brand equity, Andrew.
All right, I'm going to go to Stephen in a second, but just quickly, Michael Kroger, who do you think should be leader of the Liberal Party now?
Well, that's a very good question, and look, I'm going to disappoint you by saying, you know, I'm not going to proffer a view on that. And that's because people outside the parliamentary party trying to influence the parliamentary party has never worked in my lifetime. So if people like me and other old hacks start giving their views, that doesn't help that person. You know, I would defer to greater minds than my own, to be quite frank, mate.